And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's weather again showing winds picking up here over the central interior. Snow continues along the Arctic coast. Some moisture here spreading some snow into the southeast interior, rain and snow north Gulf Coast, and starting to progress in toward the Kenai Peninsula here. Not too bad out to the west here with diminishing winds over the Aleutians and kind of unsettled here for the Panhandle. And then for the day Friday, showers on a hit and miss there for the southeast coast. Rain with the next system spreading into Dixon Entrance. Areas of light snow, freezing rain, Susitna Valley. Wind advisories up here for the central and northeast interior, especially the Yukon Flats here where the gradients are tightest. Otherwise, not much going on elsewhere. The light snow continues for the Arctic coast. Wind's not too bad there. And a little breezy for the central Aleutians. Then on Saturday, weak warm front spread some light rain, fog, drizzle, IFR conditions into the central Aleutians. Colder air down over the Bering Sea to the Alaska Peninsula now, as well as into the southwest interior. Colder temperatures in over the central interior, riding in on those northeast winds that continue at advisory level here. Gusts 40 to 50 miles an hour up over the northeast part of the state. Much lighter winds, so that cold air won't be actually getting south of the Alaska Range here. But it will get into the Kuskokwim Valley. North Gulf Coast dry. Next system mostly staying south of the Panhandle. Coastal water forecast for the south coast. Southeast winds 15 to 20 knots. East winds 20 knots for the north coast. And Lynn Canal, north winds 15 knots. Central southern inside waters, southeast 10 to 15. And then for the day on Saturday, inside waters, variable winds 15 knots, seas 3 feet. East winds 20 knots, gusts 35 knots there along the coast of Prince of Wales Island. And the central coast here, east at 15 to 20 knots. North coast, east 10 to 15. Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Northeast 15 for the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, north at 15. And east-northeast winds 15 to 20 knots for the North Gulf Coast. Saturday, North Gulf Coast, northeast winds 15 knots. Light winds for Prince William Sound and northern Cook Inlet, north at 15. For southern Cook Inlet and Kamishak Bay, light variable winds for a change for the Barren Islands. And for Bristol Bay, northeast winds 15 knots for Friday. The Alaska Peninsula, north to northeast, 15 to 20 knots. Kodiak Island, variable to northeast winds 10 to 20 knots. Saturday, Kodiak Island northwest, 15 to 20 knot winds. Small craft advisories here for the Alaska Peninsula. Winds will be out of the northwest at 25 to 30 knots. Bristol Bay, northwest at 25. Eastern Aleutians, north winds 20 to 25 knots. Seas 8 to 10 feet for the day tomorrow, Friday. North 30 knots, Adak and Atka to about Amchitka Island. Then west to southwesterlies, west of there, at 20 knots. And for Saturday, west-southwest winds 25 to 30 knots here for the areas west of Adak to Shemya. Central Aleutians west at 20. Eastern Aleutians, northwest winds 25 to 30 knots with 7 to 9 foot seas. And for the southwest coast for tomorrow, north winds 20 knots. Same thing for St. Matthew Island. Pribilofs, a little bit stronger, north of 25, seas 8 feet. St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound, northeast winds 25 knots. Small craft advisories here for Norton Sound. Northeast at 30 knots on Saturday. Otherwise, north 25 knots. Yukon Delta Coast, St. Lawrence Island. Northwest 25 for the Kuskokwim Delta Coast. North to northwest winds 20 knots for St. Matthew Island and the Pribilofs. Arctic coast tomorrow. East winds 25 knots, 4 to 5 foot seas. Gale warnings here for the Chukchi Sea. East to northeast winds 20 to 35 knots. And then for Saturday, Chukchi Sea, northeast winds 25 to 35 knots there, seas as high as 10 feet. And for the central and western Arctic coast, east winds 30 knots. A little bit stronger on the eastern Arctic coast, east at 35 knots with 7 foot seas.